Hello, everybody. Welcome to our new and latest episode of Cities Speak. I'm Clarence Anthony, your host and CEO and Executive Director of the National League of Cities. And today we have a guest who I have been looking forward to talking with for a while. I see him normally at conferences and other events, but today you get a chance to talk to and hear a leader in America who is, I think, really special. And that is Mayor John Giles of Mesa, Arizona, who we are thrilled to have on this episode of Cities Speak. Good afternoon, Mayor. How are you?
I'm great, Clarence. Thank you. I'm honored that you would talk with me. I'm a big fan of yours. Appreciate the leadership you give to cities and all the support you give to people like me and my council members. We really benefit a lot from our participation in NLC.
Well, thank you so much. And since the listeners don't know as much as I know about you, I want to just talk about you for a few minutes. As I indicated, Mayor Giles is the mayor of Mesa, Arizona, the third largest city for the last 8 years in Arizona. And a lot has changed over those 8 years in our environment and national politics. But one thing that has really been consistent is the mayor's leadership on the things that matter in his communities. We've seen, Mayor, a lot of dramatic change in incivility, and people are growing more and more comfortable, I think, in terms of the decorum that we are used to as a part of solving problems. And the mayor is one of those people, though how he has led has been a role model for many of Americans and many of political figures throughout America. So again, welcome to City Speak. And Mayor, I just want to get right in and let's just have a conversation.
Sounds like fun, Clarence. Thanks. These are all topics that are that I'm passionate about. I know you are, and I think there's a lot of people involved in city government, that are in that middle of the country that are turned off by the partisanship and the negativity that we're seeing, and I think it's important that we support each other and talk about that.
So, Mayor, what was your journey to getting into public office? I know a little bit about it, and I think it would be amazing if listeners could really hear about how you decided to step up and be a part of leading your community.
Mesa, Arizona is my hometown. I was born and raised here, and so I've always been a partisan, for my city. And if people said mean things about them, I'd object. And so I always kind of was a hometown guy, and started a career as an attorney. But that allowed me to just be on city boards and committees and nonprofit boards, and I really got a lot of really appreciated that. Really found a lot of satisfaction in being engaged in the community. And that led to me serving on our city council a long time ago. When I was a young man in my 30s, I did a term on our city council, and I felt like that was a wonderful experience. But I also felt like I'd exercised all of my political demons, and I was done with that. But I continued to be active in the community and United Way and a lot of other things. But then an opportunity came up when my predecessor resigned early to run for governor, and the city was kind of thinking it kind of took some people off guard, and so they started scrambling to find somebody, and they started to recruit me. And I said I have zero interest in that, but I'll join the effort to find somebody. The problem occurred when we weren't successful, and I finally allowed myself to ask myself the question, would I really like to do this? And I realized there's nothing I would rather do, right, than work full time professionally to make my city a better place. I mean, that would be my dream job, I realized. So that's when I was in trouble, when I had that aha moment, and that was so I was elected in 2014, and thankfully for everyone, we have term limits in Mesa, Arizona. So the end of 2024, Mesa will get a new mayor.
Oh man. Well, oftentimes we look at that dash in when we start something and when we end something, I think your dash is going to be really productive, and you'll be able to look back and be proud of your start of public service, and it'll never end. I would say your transition out of being mayor. But one of the things that you've been quoted several times saying is, "I love waking up knowing I'm working in a calling." What do you mean by that, and how has it impacted your journey in public service?
Well, as I indicated, for most of my professional life, I practiced law, and I I had some rewarding moments and felt like I was contributing in that profession. But I was judged in that profession by my income, or by the cases I won, or by criteria that now don't seem all that important, or that really leave a mark. And so that was a job. So I really admire people who choose to pursue a career in the public sector. Whether it's public safety or school teaching or something along those lines, where you don't measure your success by your paycheck. You measure it by the lives that are impacted and by the good that you're able to do. That's exciting. For me to have the opportunity to be involved in that type of a career I've really enjoyed it. And I think it's, callings, or sometimes we think of those positions more in the faith community. Your pastor will say that he was called to, to be in his position. And I'm afraid I have a similar feeling. I think, I've got I don't have a spiritual calling, but I have a secular calling, but I think it's equally important to the work that people do in the faith community. So that's why I enjoy this job so much.
I think that's an interesting segue into this concept of public service and being called in public service and wanting to really serve your community, your place, the home that you grew up in. And I think that is such an interesting way of looking at what leaders do. What is happening, however, in the public sector right now, we're finding that 81% of most municipal officials are saying that they have been harassed, or their family's been bullied, or they go to the grocery store and folks don't just say, "How are you doing?" They say, "Hey, what party are you from?" And we've been seeing that over and over in America. And I really want to talk about how you have been able to honestly work across political lines, party lines, to deal with working with Democrats and Republicans. You've endorsed Democrats, you've endorsed Republicans. And I'd like to really ask you, how has it been as a local leader representing your constituents during this time? And give us some advice, Mayor, because this is a tough time.
Yeah, well, it's been a mixed bag. I've experienced all the things that you described. Here's the most recent experience along those lines I have. During this last election, I did feel like I was compelled to endorse a Democratic candidate for Senate and for governor in Arizona, and in a high profile way. I mean, I was on the TV on a short loop, and so and I was billed as the Republican mayor of Mesa, Arizona, endorses, these folks that are from a different party. And so, as you can imagine, that infuriated a lot of partisan Republicans. And so my staff will tell you, I got, 10, 20 to 1, negative emails from people saying making, not with very unambiguous messages about how they felt about me. On the other hand, in real life, if I were in an airport or walking down the street, I couldn't go 5 feet, and strangers would be stopping me, saying, "Thank you so much, for giving voice to this idea that choosing the right person is more important than supporting a political party." So I think there's a real appetite. There's a real people want to embrace the idea that the country and your state and your city are more important than any loyalty to a political party. So I think sometimes we underestimate the grassroots support for that notion.
And I think you hit on something really important, and that is it's going to take leadership. It's going to take uh, making the right decisions on behalf of your residents and what is right, which is the right candidate around policy. And what we're finding, Mayor, is that little things now that we thought were little, a mask, vaccination, those kind of issues have started to separate us in a way that it wasn't traditionally. Making your types of decisions related to, I got to do the right thing. What kind of process do you go through to get there?
Well, I don't think either party has a monopoly on being right or wrong. So I am quick to probably like most of the folks that you work with at NLC. I'm elected in a nonpartisan election, and the issues that compelled me to pursue this, were not tied to political party causes. It was the things that impact my quality of life at the city level. So I'm sure there are people in local politics that aspire to, have careers after this in where they're going to have to compete in partisan primaries, and I feel sorry for them because unless that's who they truly are, that's going to be a miserable experience. Moving from working on real life issues to this zero sum game that is partisan politics. Thankfully, as a rule, I try to avoid partisan issues and contentious issues. I've got so much on my plate as the mayor of the city, solving nonpartisan issues and my council, is I've got very progressive Democrats and very conservative Republicans on my council, and we get along wonderfully. And we don't. There's so much to do. Why would we get into the weeds on things that we're going to disagree on? Nearly every day of my time as mayor, I've been able to just sidestep all of that contention and focus on getting things done that we all agree on. But there has been occasion where I felt compelled to speak out on things that are going to upset people in a partisan way.
Yeah, we see that all over, and what is starting as well is this whole notion that I didn't sign up for this, and that
Yeah,
when I ran for office, I ran to deal with crime, housing, be able to deal with the issues of poverty, and I think the bipartisan route in America right now is, in fact, causing us to lose some of the brightest and best, if you will, because I think
sure.
we're finding that they say, I don't want to do this any longer. Any advice that you can give to local leaders who feel like they're caught between a rock and a hard place as a leader?
Don't know who to give credit to this, but I heard a while back that people will support something that they feel like they've helped to create. And so there have been times when I would, go to an NLC meeting and I would hear a solution that's happening in another city, and I'd see, oh, I need to bring this home, and I need to steal this idea for it's a perfect fit. And I knew that if I came back to the Mesa City Council chambers and said, "Hey, I'm the mayor, follow behind me, and I'll lead us up this hill, and here's my press release on, this great idea I have," people are going to roll their eyes and they're going to say, "This is going to be fun to watch this guy, fall on his face." But if I come back and I have some convenings and I suggest to other people, "Here's an idea. What do you think? Do you want to play a role? Do you want to help us dig into this?" I create some. If 5 or 6 people think this is their idea, man, there's 100% likelihood that thing is going to be successful. So I would just remind all of us that local politics, particularly, is a team sport, and a lot of these ideas if you don't care who gets the credit for them, man, that's a great place to start, and try to get as broad a base of support as you possibly can. involve every constituency you can think of, and get every member of your council to think that this is their idea, and they're going to be receiving all the credit if it's successful.
That is true. That's a good piece of advice. It's interesting, in addition, that the role of mayor causes you to be more of the face of whatever is good and whatever is bad. And the whole concept of bringing along your council and bringing along your community on your vision is really, really great advice.
My predecessor said the same thing. He said, in the end, you're going to get you're the mayor. And so you're going to be judged by the outcome. You're going to be judged by whether, where you are at the end. So give all the success away that you can, and just know that ultimately, after all the dust settles, if good things have happened, people will be grateful to you.
Well, I want to give you an opportunity to tell our subscribers why should they move to Mesa? What is special about Mesa, Arizona? And it's funny, I say that because I've never met a mayor that did not say, my city is the best city. They used to say in America. Now they say in the world. So what's special about Mesa, Arizona?
Oh, thanks, Clarence. Like I said, I'm very partisan supporter of my community. I was born and raised here, and it's what my love of this community is what drove me to pursue this position. I started doing a podcast called "It's Always Cool in Mesa," where I kind of tell these aha moments that I've had where I'm sitting doing something and I realize I couldn't be doing this anywhere else. This is something that's uniquely attractive about my city, or this is an insight or a story, or something about our character that I need to kind of do a deep dive on and explain to people why it's cool. I kind of joked around that in Mesa we're kind of proud of our humility. We're not great at going out and bragging about why we're better than anybody else. And I don't think we think we're better than anybody else, but we are fiercely loyal because there is a lot to like about our community. Right now, we're the center of the universe because the Super Bowl is going to be down the road, Glendale. We're all part of the Phoenix metro area. The Waste Management Phoenix Open is happening right now. The whole world in another month or two another month we'll have spring training. So for the next few months, I don't need to try to convince anyone that Mesa and Phoenix is a great place. We're going to be the whole world is beating a path, to come and experience our communities. But and so we're certainly a part of that as being a part of the Phoenix area. But I think Mesa is special, and every mayor will say this. I think the level of our compassion, the level of our we're a great combination of a city that needs help. We've got plenty of poverty, plenty of issues that we need to address, but we combine that with I think an oversized dose of people who feel a sense of calling, like we talked about earlier, to serve and to help. And so I'm constantly humbled, when I reach out to the community, asking them to help start a college promise program or do something, big, a big lift that requires significant response. My community comes through every time. So I'm very proud of that.
Well, I want to say to our listeners at City Speak, we are getting really good advice from Mayor Giles. I mean, he's not just sharing it, but he's living it, and he's modeling real leadership in a difficult time. As I said before, one of our goals is to bring leaders that are going to help municipal leaders and our country stay motivated about public service. And clearly, what we've heard today helps us to be able to think positively about the future. And Mayor, one of the other goals we have is that we want to make sure we lift up the positive things so that kids will go to college and say, I want to major in public administration or public sector law. And so these stories are very important. And I don't know if you have any thoughts about how important lifting up public service is.
I'm blessed with the opportunity to talk to young people a lot. And one of the things I consistently say is I encourage them to look at a career in public service, as this calling rather than this job that we talked about. And people sometimes don't realize that 90% of the services that they receive for their tax dollars and come from local government, right? I mean, I'm a very loyal, patriotic American, and I'm glad we have an aircraft carrier, but it's not every day that I need an aircraft carrier. But every day I do need my plumbing to work and streets to drive on and my garbage to get picked up. So it's fun to point out to young people, hey, you want to be an engineer? You want to be, pick a profession. I've got several of those that work for the city of Mesa. And there's some real lifestyle advantages and just quality of life and mental health advantages to choosing a career, a service career that's tied to local government.
Well, Mayor, thank you so much for joining us today and spending time with us to talk about who you are, how you serve, how you stand up for your residents, but most of all, just the humility that you reflect and your feeling about public service is contagious. And I hope that you'll continue to remain engaged locally, nationally, because it seems like Mesa is a cool place to be and visit. So y'all come to visit Mesa anytime. And thanks again, Mayor.
Let me know if you need any spring training tickets if you make it out in February and March.
Oh, man, I may have to do that. So don't block my call. Tell your staff to let me through, but I may take you up on that.
Please do. Thanks for the opportunity to chat, Clarence.
Thank you, guys. City Speak with Mayor Giles from Mesa, Arizona. Thank you all.
Thanks for listening to City Speak with Clarence Anthony. If you like this show, let us know. Share this episode with your friends and make sure to subscribe. We're curious to hear what you think, what you want more of, and how we can improve. If you have feedback or an idea for a guest you'd like Clarence to sit down with, send us your thoughts at cityspeakpodcast@nlc.org. Join us next month for a new episode. Like and subscribe here or wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.